live, guys. I'm leading us tonight. I'm Nikki. It's Showtime Nikki on, I was about to say Facebook. That's totally wrong. On Twitter. That would be the app. And we are here tonight for Hang Outlander. We are going to talk about the Wentworth Prison episode. Hold on to your butts. I'm drinking a Perrier because I'm fun. Can't get it in the camera. We have not a new friend, a returning friend. How about you introduce yourself first, Kyle?
Okay, my name is Kyle. I am a writer with Laura at hypeable.com. And I love Outlander so much. And I think I'm the only one here who has not read the books. So I have no idea what's going on, and I love it.
Yeah, we're glad you're here because we need that. We've been missing that non-book perspective, and you've been busy the couple times we tried to get you back, so we are glad that you could join us tonight.
I'm so happy. And I also am drinking 2 Buckchuck White Zinfandel. So.
Nice. I'll go next. I'm Becca. I am drinking something red. I don't know what it is. And I am excited to talk about this episode because I have not been excited the last few episodes. So this one should make a good conversation. Beth?
You're muted.
You're muted.
I know. Sorry. Hi.
Hello.
I normally mute myself, but I was like typing and stuff. Hi, I'm Beth, and I'm glad to talk tonight. I'm having some fruit, and I'm having some champagne because Blurtlander and I had a little bit of a celebration this evening. It was very...
Are you pregnant?
No.
That's what I was about to say.
With champagne, that makes sense.
The champagne would not go well with the pregnancy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not pregnant. That's not happening. But we did have a very exciting evening. So we were celebrating, and I'm going through this whole bottle of champagne. And so I'm already really drunk. And I'm really looking forward to talking about Wentworth Prison. It's going to be a good time.
It is obvious Beth is drunk because she just tweeted something that was not the YouTube link.
I know! I was trying to delete it when you called my name.
I took care of it. Okay, Jamie, sorry.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie, the city girl. I write for That's Normal. My tagline is, now we got bad blood because multiple reasons. Because I think, at this point, Blackjack ruined any chance he had with Jamie. I think, destroying the hand just was like, cut bad blood. Also because Taylor Swift video, and I love it, and it's dedicated to a special somebody out there. I am not drunk, although I should totally make that as an excuse. I am drinking some Walmart brand apple juice, fake apple juice, out of an authentic 1980 stemware or cup out of my collection because I like to bring out a different cup every time. Eventually I'm going to run out and have to repeat, and it's going to be a sad day, or I could just buy more. So we'll see.
Awesome. Laura.
I miss Jamie's Care Bear cup. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura. I, along with Kyle, write on hypeable.com. And tonight I'm continuing to raid my husband's Scotch collection, and I think this one is called Macallum. And so far we'll see if it beats the Oban. That's the one I like the best so far. So we'll see how it goes.
Let us know.
Yeah, I think we need to have you at the end of the season do a recap of your tastings and which one was the best.
Well,
just so we know.
Just so we know, just in case. I don't think I'm nearly as fussy as Ron Moore is. I feel like Ron Moore has. If you ever listen to the Outlander podcast, I feel like he has this like very snooty little collection of, whiskey that he has people sample as they're on his podcast.
I like how all of us are like, have you ever listened to the podcast? And we're like, no.
I've listened to 2. I've only listened to 2 of them. I have not listened to all. I've listened to 2 of them.
I literally was just thinking, there's an Outlander podcast? What's that?
Yeah, no, I listened to, or like 1.5 actually I've listened to, but yeah.
I'm like, is that our podcast? I'll listen to that.
No, but really, is it like his thing, or is it really from
It's-
Stars? Like, what's the deal?
It is his. It's a little annoying because it's like what he does is he has on either the writer
Sorry,
or
guys.
no problem. Is the fire trucks? Come on by.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I got it. I
North
took
Jersey is
care of it.
burning.
She's muted. There's a
Yeah,
reason
no,
I asked for headphones.
What he does is he has on one of the designers or the writer or the director of the episode, and you can hear in the background as they like play the episode. So it's kind of like live running commentary along with the episode in the back, which I actually find a little bit distracting, to be honest with you.
Oh.
No, I like that. Like, I've listened to one, I think. I don't remember which episode it was. It might have been The Reckoning. And I like that because I like to watch DVD commentaries, so that's fine with me. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But I live and breathe too much Outlander to, like, sit and listen to another hour-long podcast.
Yeah.
So I don't
No,
But she will read every fan site commentary on Facebook ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like
And
watching
we're
the
grateful.
Yeah, right. No, I like watching the DVD stuff too, but I think it was hard because I couldn't see it, so I wasn't always sure what part I was listening to. It was kind of weird, but anyway.
Well, plug. Listen to the Outlander podcast if you want, or just listen to ours. That's cool too. Let's just jump right in because I'm still reeling from 2 weeks of super crazy Outlander episodes. Let's maybe just go along and come up with like our overall impression of this week. Like, if you had one sentence to like describe what you thought of this, what would it be? I'm gonna start first, and it's essentially my tagline, and it says, "Is this episode over yet?" Like, holy shit, it was a little too much for me. I don't know if anyone agrees. It was just like so much. It was a little too much for me on a Saturday after celebrating my birthday.
Happy birthday. I think it had been hyped. Hey, hypeable guys. We like I didn't watch it till last night actually, so I knew a bunch of people watched it earlier in the week. I don't know why I can't talk. I think it has something to do with alcohol. So a bunch of friends watched it earlier in the week, and then you guys started like texting in the morning of Saturday, and then like all throughout the day it was on these text messages. So it was like I was expecting the world's worst thing, and I'm not saying it wasn't terrible because it was. I just think I was prepared for worse, so I think I was grateful for that actually. I also had my hand over my eyes for a good 10 minutes, so
Yeah.
maybe that helped.
I think I watched it through a fleece blanket and like barely came up for air occasionally. But it wasn't as bad as I thought. When they showed that iron mask at the beginning, I was like, oh hell no.
Yes.
Oh, yep.
Where's the fast forward?
Me too. I was like, what is going on? It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be either. Like, I was expecting way more gruesome stuff, and I was like, at the end of it, I was like, I kind of want to watch it again because I wasn't like.
So Kyle, what as a non-book reader and like, did you know? I mean, obviously they're building up to something. What did you know going into this episode?
I just knew that they're gonna try to get Jamie out, and that like everyone on my Twitter feed was like really excited because they said that it was gonna be really gruesome, and they said that it was gonna be really violent. And so I was like, well, okay, and I had no idea what to expect. I knew Blackjack Randall was going to be back. I was excited for that. I love him, so, but I was not the hand. I was not expecting the hand, and yeah,
that was tough to watch.
I was expecting more of maybe what partially might happen in the next episode, or at least what Jamie eventually tells Claire about what happened. So I was kind of expecting, when we kept seeing Jamie's perspective, I thought maybe something like that was going to happen. But then luckily I realized kind of the episode was running out of time, and I was like, oh, thank God.
We don't have to deal with this till next week.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Maybe it'll only be like glimpses and not the actual...
Well, I think it's interesting now. I doesn't know what's going to happen. So we have to be careful.
Right.
I'm trying to be as vague as possible.
I know. Yeah.
I was totally along the lines with Jamie too, because I had read some commentary from somebody else who I guess had seen a prequel before we even saw screeners, and they were talking about like this big, and it's going to be okay, and it's the most. I mean, there were a lot of there was a lot of emotion going into the description of what the episode was going to be, and I then watched the episode and I'm like, I'm feeling like we watched two different things. And then the next day Diana came out on her Facebook and said, oh, the person who described this upcoming scene is actually describing the both Wentworth and the finale. And I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. But because I had read that other article, I think I went into it with a lot of preconceived notions. And I don't want to say that spoiled it for me, but I'm annoyed that I had those preconceived notions going in. I think you can say too much about a series if you've had a screener, and I feel like I got too much information and I was annoyed at that.
Well, I mean, as book readers, you know what's coming. So, I mean, like one of our Twitter followers just said, we aren't out of the woods. Raven. Hi, Raven, 1986. So we aren't out of the woods yet. I heard next week will be more gruesome. I mean, yes, next week is going to be, there's more torture on the horizon, essentially.
Is next week going to be worse?
Potentially
the finale, right?
Yeah, I think we might
next week. 2 weeks from the finale.
Yeah, the finale is in 2 weeks.
Skip Memorial Day. They skip Memorial Day weekend, but yeah.
Does someone die? Because I'd be really excited for that.
You're morbid. I like
Maybe.
Okay.
As long as they don't bring out that iron mask, I'm gonna be okay. Just don't bring that out.
So here's a non-book reader impression. My husband, who doesn't know anything, and he just knew that I was really nervous about it, that I didn't even really want to watch the episode, and so he was like trying to guess. I think he was even texting Beth, like, what is going to happen? And he was like, Jamie gets castrated. And I just was like, I'm not saying anything, but do you think women would read 9 books about a man who's castrated? It's like, yeah, probably not.
Sorry, this is not Game of Thrones, just saying.
Right, okay, so here's a good point. Here's a good point, because there's a good tweet, and there's a couple along this line, but from Marissa, is her Twitter name, great Twitter name, says, I guess the violence no longer phases me because of Vikings, but I was a ball of nerves not knowing what to expect. And I think that's interesting, because also last night, I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I heard all about it. I see it everywhere. There was a very violent, like, we see this kind of stuff all the time. However, somebody made the point, I can't remember who, that we are maybe a little more. Nikki did.
It's my question for later.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Well, we can go there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the question is essentially, in light of this episode, past episodes, I mean, how many times has Claire almost been raped or whatever? And then in light of Game of Thrones Sunday episode, why do we feel like writers are trying to force sexual violence onto characters in the name of character growth or, you know, whatever other trope they can come up with? Like, what are we doing? Why are they doing this?
I mean, I don't think you can argue Game of Thrones. Like, I've seen a couple people try to apply historical perspective to Game of Thrones, which I think is hilarious because it's not a historical, guys.
It's not historical.
But I mean, I think there is something to be said if you're talking 18th century Scotland under the subjugation of the British and a certain code by which you lived, and you did not often stray off your land. You stayed in a very certain, you know, if you're breaking sort of the law and the code at the time, it was a very violent time, and like rape is not, it's going to sound strange, but rape is not a crime of sex. It's a crime of control and violence and subjugation, and depending on where you are, that's what they would have used. But
well, I think that there's a difference between what we see in Game of Thrones, which is an interesting, powerful character who's coming into her own, being raped for, that's not in the book, that's not part of her actual character arc, regardless of the fact that they're like colluding her with Jane Poole. But I think that what we're seeing is them take a character that was not necessary for that character to be interesting. It was not necessary for her to grow. It was not necessary for her to experience anything, and they did it anyway. That's gratuitous and not necessary, versus what's happening to Jamie. Men aren't regularly tortured, whereas women are regularly raped in the real world. And so when we see it on television and it feels like it's not necessary, it's a ridiculous amount of rape culture that we just don't need to see, right? And so what's happening to Jamie is not happening in everyday life to any man, to every woman. No one's getting their hands nailed to tables. And so that is a violence that we can accept on terms of like this is happening to this character. It's singular to his relationship to his tormentor, and we're going to see growth happen because of it. It's totally different than what happened with Sansa Stark, which was absolutely 100% the most gratuitous rape scene. It's totally unnecessary. So, I mean, it's just apples and oranges in my mind, at least. And I'm really drunk. I'm sorry, I'm talking so slow.
No,
Southern?
No, that was
You were
great to
talking
hear.
slow, but they were great thoughts.
Yeah, that was awesome. I agree completely. I think having Jamie's storyline, like as a non-book reader, and just like kind of like seeing that go on is really interesting, and I think it's something that the public would kind of need to be reminded of, because people don't think about men getting raped. They don't think about men getting tortured or anything like that. It's a topic that I think people just kind of put aside, and so it's really interesting to see them put Jamie through that sort of circumstance, whereas with Sansa, like you said, it was gratuitous. It wasn't needed at all. Like, we don't need to be reminded of that. This is a Game of Thrones TV show that we're watching, and like that, when it's not conducive to her story arc at all in the books, is completely pointless. But when you bring it with Jamie and you kind of bring this topic up kind of like in a really natural, not natural, but like normal, not normal. I don't know what to say.
No, but it's the great. It's a really good point. I think it's kind of almost sort of a little bit of the point I was trying to make the other week about the breastfeeding scene. It wasn't like they made it that very special breastfeeding episode of Outlander. You know, this wasn't that very special torture episode of Outlander. Like it's part of the plot. It's not the only point of the plot. There's more going on around it.
Exactly. Yes.
I think going back to kind of a couple things that we were talking about earlier, we're getting some of the responses now because everyone's a couple minutes behind us of what they thought going into it, and there's some really great responses here that our graph 12 says not as bad as she expected. Next episode will be brutal, and a lot of people are saying we thought we were getting all of Wentworth this episode, so I think we were kind of all going into it thinking, yeah, we're going to get so. Sorry to tell you, Kyle, that there's very much stuff that we believe might be coming that we were not looking forward to that's still to come.
One of the things that I kind of liked about the way that they shot this is that they gave us enough time to look away. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, you kind of said, you know, put your hand on the table.
Yeah.
Like you had that I could look away factor going on, and even with the nail too, like you definitely had enough time to like be like, okay, I don't want to see this part. Let's wait until I hear screaming or a bang, and then I'll look again. Like you totally could have, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, that ratcheted up the tension. Like I was so tense. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I guess because I've read it several times, I know what happens. But then again, of course, like seeing it visually was totally different. And for me, I kept anticipating that Tobias specifically was going to do something new that I'd never seen before, and like so the back licking was this new thing that he did. And you know, there was one point when he was doing a Twitter talk or whatever, Twitter chat, and he said that kinkiness tends to be my idea, like some of that stuff that he does tends to be the stuff that he just adds in. And so like in my mind, the back licking was his idea, holding Jamie's hand was his idea, like even choking Claire, which one of our commenters like had this great idea that was like such a callback to when Frank choked the woman Sally or whatever back in episode 6. That was such a great callback to that, and I was like, yes, that's such a good point. But at the same time, in my mind, I'm thinking that's all Tobias. Like he's just like, I totally want to take like a bite out of these scars right now, so he just fucking does it, and everybody's like, ah!
Tobias Menzies, closet sadist.
Right. Yeah, I read something that Tobias said that he was having a hard time bringing in the love aspect of this relationship with Jamie, like knowing what we know about their relationship. I think it's hard to believe that there's love there. I mean, maybe we've talked about this.
I'm like, what relation? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not surprised you're asking that, Kyle, because I don't think they've built that up at all.
I don't see anything between them.
Yeah.
I just see I see enemies. I see this guy who just wants to kill this guy because he's gotten in his way like 1,000 times. I don't see any sort of romantic, any sort of like love.
And
I think there are definitely signs of it, and I think it's just because there's so much show in between. It's like so drawn out that it kind of muddles what would have been obvious of this obsession of blackjacks. It's more than just somebody that's his enemy. It's not even like, I don't even think that Blackjack sees Jamie as an enemy. It's like this it's a sexual obsession of his, and it's like it's almost like an object of his. Like it's not like even Jamie's a person anymore. It's just like this, he objectifies him. But I don't think it's love. I think it's like maybe it's like some weird twisted version of, because I mean he knows he's, like he said, like, you either get this quick death, like, so it's not like he's trying to save him, like, no. It's like, I'm trying to, because I'm obsessed with you, I'm going to make maybe your death a little easier, or I could be just lying.
Yeah. I think it's just this fictional ridiculousness. Like, it's just this, like the fact that he comes rushing in to save Jamie is this great, it's a great way to juxtapose like who he is to Jamie. He's Jamie's absolute nemesis and tormentor, and at the same time he's Jamie's literal savior. He saves him. He is the white knight in that moment. And so Blackjack represents these two different things to him. This is huge dichotomy, and that's great. That's great storytelling. But at the same time, it's so fucking fictional, right? Like, there's no way that any of that would happen. There's no way he'd be this obsessed with this one dude. It just and like running across all these Scottish moors just to find him, just to save him, just to torment him, and it's not going to happen. But it's beautiful and wonderful. And somebody on Twitter just said that it was Tobias's idea to lick his scars. I love being right. I'm totally right. I totally want to do Tobias. I'm so drunk that I just said that.
Somebody else on Twitter just said the following. I need to read this to you guys. It's CM Dar Went. Ron's podcast, Tobias wanted to use the hammer inappropriately on Claire and then wanted to use Marley's corpse as a bed.
Ew.
What? Yeah.
All right, so he took it to like a whole other level.
Yeah, so the reason why we don't want to listen to the podcast, right there.
What?
And
I didn't get that far in the podcast. I would remember that. Oh, God.
Can I just say really quickly, this is like such a humble brag, but that night that we were in that bar with Tobias and he was like all disheveled, you guys, like, I know you think that Tobias is hot, but when he gets, like, messy, oh, my God.
Oh, my.
Oh, my gosh.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
He does have a sex appeal to him.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of sex appeal. But without that wig. That wig is atrocious.
Yeah, terrible wig.
It's super gross. You can totally see his hairline. It's the worst.
The wig gives distance. He doesn't really look like that, so it gives distance between the horrible.
Yeah, it does.
That's true. Good point, Drunky.
Yeah. I think it was. I mean, as much as we've been talking about like the physical, and you've talked to then Beth about like the licking and everything like that, I found what was more disturbing was just that cold voice, and just it was just like a cat slowly playing like with a mouse and just picking it up, chewing it, putting it down, picking it up, chewing it, putting it down. Like, to me, that's what was just really more scary, was just him trying to get into Jamie's head and every now and then just finding a weak point and just continuing to jab at it. That's what I found infinitely more, I don't know, terrifying than the physical violence, was just that whole psychological journey he was going on.
Yeah, I mean, the whole cool thing is that he's totally calm and collected the whole time. This isn't like, he isn't torturing somebody out of anger, he's not torturing them out of malice even. It's just like this twisted, weird, calm, and totally collected idea that this is what's going to get him off. It
kind of reminds me of Scandal. If anyone watches Scandal, it kind of reminds me of Huck, who is a character who just really enjoys torturing people, and he kind of like gets off from it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reminds me of that.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I have a question for Kyle / anyone who's a non-reader out there and happens to be watching this. Given the last two episodes, the last episode was like Scotland's Got Talent and just terrible boringness. Sorry, I wasn't here. And then this week we have torture and more awfulness. Like, what are non-readers thinking? Are you like, I'm going to give this one episode and I'm done? Or like, where the hell is this going?
I'm still in love with it, personally. I'm in love with it. I'm lying if I'm not saying that the title sequence and the theme song isn't what's keeping me coming sometimes, because I just like when that thing starts, I'm like, I like sit in my room and I'm like singing along to it. This wine is having an effect. I apologize.
You should sing it for us, just a real quick line.
I don't even know. Oh, I can't do it.
Sing me a song.
Be a song.
Oh, I can't. I don't know the words. Like, even when it's on my screen and it's happening, I'm like, da, 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 da. But anyway, regardless, I love the show. I think last week's episode was really interesting, actually. I really liked seeing Claire be a boy, or like be a boyish and like dance around, and them trying to like save Jamie and stuff. But I don't know, it's not boring to me. I don't know if it's boring to any other non-book readers, but I'm definitely invested, and I'm pissed that season 2's in 2016.
Too far away. What does David think, Becca? Has he said anything like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, he wouldn't be watching it if it weren't for me.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lurtlander likes it. I don't know if he likes it because he has some sort of internet notoriety because of it, or if he really likes it, like if he would watch it regardless. But I think maybe his 750 Twitter followers is the reason he enjoys it. I don't know.
Yeah. No, Kevin watches it with me. He started off by calling it That Scottish Show. And then he's gotten into it, and I even asked him, I was like, why do you like it? And he was he actually then started to pick up the books and read the books, and he said he found it more interesting than Game of Thrones and the adaptation of Game of Thrones. He just feels like the characters are more developed and more real. And I said, so what about? He goes, no, just like everybody. He feels like everybody is really real and a really developed person, and that's why he likes it. So and now he actually also calls it Outlander instead of just That Scottish Show. So he actually does know what it's called now, so that's fine.
All right, here's a question I had while watching it. Maybe you guys can answer, people on Twitter. Did Blackjack Randall lie to Jamie about taking Claire to safety, or is his idea of safety throwing someone out of a trapdoor into a pile of bodies? Like, do you think he really thought that was safe, or I was confused?
I do. I think so. I think in the book it's less ambiguous, I guess, because he's throwing her into the snow and there's wolves there or whatever. But in this one, I think he was just like, yeah, you're fine. This is the graveyard. She can crawl her way out. I think that taking her all the way to like the exit, the fire exit or whatever, would have just taken too long. And he had a really raging boner at that time. He just needed to get back to Jamie. So
Yeah.
And he could have possibly crossed other people, which it wouldn't like make sense if she broke in, like why he was letting her go. So I think he had to be kind of secretive about it. But yeah, she definitely could have like broken bones falling through that trapdoor.
Yes,
So.
I was like, seriously, how did she not? I mean, I know there's a lot of moss on the ground there, but still, I was like, how did she not like dislocate something falling that far?
he waited to make sure she got up or like looked like she was okay.
Did he?
I mean,
I
I think he agreed to like I guarantee your safe passage from the castle. Technically, the second you were out the trap, you were away from the castle. You know, it was like technically he did it. You know.
He looks down at her. He looks down. He makes sure that she. I mean, not to like make sure because he's a nice dude or whatever, but if we're gonna be super technical about it, he looks down, and she's fine. So he kept his word. Tobias is a good guy. Tobias, hey! Hey, buddy.
We only
About Tobias, do y'all want to hear it?
What?
Hmm?
About Tobias, do y'all want to hear it? Actually, I would never tell y'all not because it's that dirty or anything, but because telling people your dreams is the most narcissistic thing in the whole world.
Is it really though?
I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
I don't think it is. But
Who gives a shit about what your subconscious is throwing at you? That is so narcissistic.
No,
No
it's not. It's like
I
you
did,
dream
I
and you're
did
like
this,
talking
like,
about this awesome stuff that's going on, and you want to share it with people.
No, it's so stupid.
no, it's not. I did this whole thing in college in like a speech class about like dream interpretation. I find it like really interesting what people are like dreaming about.
I had
'Cause
a
it
dream I
can
went to
mean other
adopt a
things.
dog, and I got a kid instead. So I was like, right?
Okay,
Dreams are
well, in
interesting.
that case, I dreamed that we were at Comic-Con and we were in a bar with Tobias, and I started karaokeing Chandelier by Sia, and he was like super into it. So that was my dream.
Was this
I
a
have heard
daydream?
this Chandelier on many of occasion while in Europe, humble brag.
I did sing it a lot in Europe when I was drunk in Glasgow.
Go to drunk song, yeah.
All right. Well, was there a best part for anyone of this episode? I don't even know if there's a best part.
The
But
scar licking.
just the monologues that Tobias has. I mean, I think he won himself an Emmy. I mean, if he doesn't have an Emmy nom after this episode, that's insane. But just the monologues and how varied and layered they were. I mean, there were some really long camera takes there too. So I would just say just everything that Tobias did for me was just really amazing.
I
think
thought
the
the beginning of Tobias's monologues were kind of cheeseball. Like,
Really?
yeah, like I thought some of the stuff he did was, I mean, obviously he was great, but I felt like his first one, I kind of alluded to this in my recap, but I felt like it's almost like he was, like that scene in Napoleon Dynamite where the guy like does the prom date thing or whatever. I can't believe I just brought up Napoleon Dynamite. So like, it just felt like he had scripted it so specifically. Blackjack had scripted this whole like, so your petition of complaint, blah 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 blah, and I was like, I feel like
Yeah,
this is,
that one was not as good. I'll give you that. But like the middle ones where he's really like before Claire even shows up, just before the like he breaks his hand, that whole sequence into that I thought was amazing.
yeah, I mean, he was amazing this whole episode. I really think my favorite part was Katrina. And somebody asked if we were going to talk about Katrina because obviously she was fantastic this episode. But even her very first scene where she's trying to hold it together with Sir Fletcher, and then when she vomits, when she sees Myrta, it felt so visceral and real to me. I immediately started crying. Like, that physical pain of like holding something in emotionally that hurts you so badly, like in that moment when she vomits in front of Myrta, like she literally thinks there's nothing she can do to save Jamie. Like he's going to die, she's going to be close enough to maybe have some effect on it, but she can't stop it. And so that all bubbles up in her just like collapsing at the edge of this prison, and I felt it so specifically that I just like started bawling. I thought it was beautiful the way she acted.
I mean, she's got his personal effects. I mean, he's all but when he hands her that box, he's all but telling her it's over. There's nothing you can do.
I think it's also some like masterful editing and story creation on their part, because from that beginning, that whole hanging scene was like, this sounds weird, but maybe one of my more favorite parts of the entire episode, because it was so real and it was more like it was a chore to them and less like it's portrayed in a lot of movies. Like it was just like they were just throwing them off like, this is it. And then the whole, I can't even remember what that guy's name is, McCurdy, something like that, what he said, and they just threw him off, and then Jamie almost gets killed, and then they cut over to Claire, and it's like, holy crap, he almost just died. Like, it was just a great interweaving of the story.
I also like it because depending upon how many seasons of this show we get, I think it's an interesting aspect to have. We only hear about in the books Jamie telling us about, like, oh, I was dragged out to see the hanging. I think it was really cool to see it from Jamie's first-person perspective. But let's just say hanging may come up again in a couple books down the line, and I think it's interesting now that we've seen Jamie's first-person reaction, and it may repeat again with somebody or something else, maybe. Sorry. Being vague, trying not to spoil.
What were y'all's favorite parts? What were the rest of y'all's favorite parts?
Things got a little gay, and I got excited. Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
No, Kyle, that's perfect because I had a lot of hate because I think Blackjack is gay. I think he is mostly homosexual.
I don't
I
know.
think everyone on this panel thinks he's gay until.
But we don't know your opinion. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't expect anything. So when he started, when he put his crotch in Jamie's hand, I was like, what is going on? What is happening? And then he started, like, thrusting, and I was like, excuse me? What? And then the point where he kissed Jamie, I was like, okay, well then. Definitely, okay. I don't know if he's gay. I don't know any self-respecting gay man who would rape women. I think at most he's probably bisexual. I think curious. I don't know. I don't know because I don't see him as a gay man. And if he is a gay man, I think he's trying to keep away from it and try to stray away from that path for whatever reason because I feel like he's not comfortable with it. I don't know. I don't think he's gay, but I think he definitely likes the dick.
I think some of our reasoning for thinking that is because you're right. A gay man raping a woman would be very unusual. However, we haven't seen him do that. The only person that has seemed to have gotten him aroused has been a man.
See, for me, it's kind of funny. Like, I would get a gay man in that era, like having to be one of the boys. I can kind of see that happening. But
Right.
For me, it's just like when you're torturing somebody, a prisoner, like just to torture somebody physically with your own body is so. It's also so personal on your part. That's why I thought it was. That's why I guess I thought he was gay.
I don't know. I guess maybe I thought we had seen him rape women, but I guess it's all just been like suggested and not really like shown. You make a good point there. I don't know. It's creepy.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Well, I guess whether
Seriously.
gay or not, he's still a sadistic fuck. So regardless of his sexual preference, he's still
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the least interesting thing about Blackjack Randall, I think, is his sexuality. I mean, if you want to put it that way. I mean, that's the least interesting aspect of him.
I just spilled champagne all over myself.
No.
But I would just like to clarify because I mentioned that he was gay in my recap, and I did that to be silly because I've said several times that I think he's mostly gay, and I think that he is primarily sexually sadistic, not homosexual. So yes, he gets off on humiliation and domination and fear, and other people's pain. But I do think that he prefers men in general.
I agree.
And I don't care what Diana has said post facto. That is not imperative to the show, A, ever, because that doesn't matter. And B, it isn't imperative to what she's written in the text, which is never once has Blackjack had a boner for a female.
Has that ever been mentioned in the books? Like, has his sexuality ever been kind of like referenced? Like, are book readers just as curious about this as non-book readers? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just assumed he would. I mean, I never thought it was a question. I thought it was implied.
From what's in the book plus what we see in the show, it just leaves the question doesn't feel blank. Like, it feels like it's been answered. I mean, I don't know. I see. I guess.
After the fact, Diana has said several times in the Outlandish Companion, and I guess on about 7 million different posts on CompuServe, that he's not gay. He's a sexual sadist. Like, he's bisexual opportunity. Like, it's just about sadism for him. But I don't think that the books themselves bear that out. And I've said this several times, but people keep asking me questions. I just don't think that the books themselves say that. Diana can say that all she wants, and that's great, and I'm glad that she feels like the clarification is necessary. I don't think that the text says that. I think that the text says that he's homosexual, or at least mostly homosexual.
Yeah, I got
I
got it more from the second book. Yeah, I know. I've been rereading now the second book, and to me, I think I came to the opinion more when I was in the second book because of, again, sort of context clues and things that were in there. Really, I don't know. That's it. It's really how I thought about it. I didn't, and it never occurred to me to look to Diana's site for clarification because for me it was so clear that I felt he was gay. But
right,
like I said,
and I think that again, it's fine, book readers. It's fine for anybody to, or show watchers to think that he's gay. Like, don't let people bully you into thinking that he's not. But at the same time, yes, it sucks that the only, like, it seems like the only gay character in the show is also a sexual sadist, but that's not the only thing that's going to happen, and, like, that's not the point. It's not that we need him to be gay to, like, deal with. So just leave us alone.
And Kyle, you're gonna, if the show keeps continuing, there is this amazing gay character that you're gonna get introduced to. Who's
I know. I keep telling him this.
Yeah, you're gonna
Like he
love him.
knows. Like he can tell you. I keep telling him, you got to stay watching because you're gonna love this guy when you see him.
And fingers crossed, he's going to be totally hot.
I don't want to read the books now because I love not knowing what's going to happen. I love it.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Jamie has a question.
So realizing we have about 10 minutes or so, I wanted to ask everybody's opinion and those watching what you think is going to happen next episode. Now, I realize that trying to not give away too much for those who don't know in the book, but do you feel like it's going to end on a positive note? Is it going to be a cliffhanger of some sort? Like, how do you think the episode's going to go?
Knowing that they only have an hour in the show and how much ground there's left to cover, I think they're going to leave it in a bit of a cliffhanger. I think Wentworth will be a good third to a half, and then what happens after will leave us in a cliffy, I think.
I'm going like half and half. I agree with you, Nikki, too. That I think it'll be half Wentworth and half what happens after Wentworth. I don't think we're going to get a total cliffhanger. I mean, I think they have to give us a certain amount of resolution, but I think part of that resolution gives us the cliffhanger into next season. Again, trying not to spoil.
I think it's going to be full book. I think we're going to get almost everything that we get in the book. I think it will end.
How? In 30 minutes? Or an hour?
I do. I think you can do it.
And I think we won't get a lot of, like, the introspection that we get at the church or whatever with Father Anselm, but I think that 100% we will get what ends in the book. I think that will be the last scene of the series.
Maybe they'll just do some montages of like praying and gardening and stuff.
Because he's definitely in there. Because if you saw that, the clips were so fast, but he's definitely in there.
Wait, it's not spoiling anyway. Lavender, that's in book 1.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. And I think it'll be in it. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely in this finale.
See, I'm just thinking of that scene in Easy A where the guy's like, "Lavender, this is pretty." Like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Same thing.
I'm hoping, as a non-book reader, I'm hoping that it's a cliffhanger that's not overly ridiculous. Like, I hope it's a good season finale cliffhanger where they tie up. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. But I'm hoping they tie up a couple of loose ends with this finale, but they leave it open to continuation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it will be that. It'll be closed enough where you're satisfied, but open enough where you're anticipating next season. Definitely.
Okay, and I have a question for you guys, for all the book readers, and I'm curious to know, is this show, it's the first season, so is this show going the direction that you guys want it to go? Is there, like, have there been things that they've done that, like, you just really disagree with? Like, Harry Potter fans are really upset about, like, they missed this, and this, and so, like, as book fans, do you like where it's going? Are you anticipating a good second season because of where they're going, or are you kind of dreading the things that they've left out?
I think if they can cut out a lot of the detail and move more of the, make each episode more compact and unlike this season, because there was just like long periods of being bored, and I read the books, and I don't know if it's because I read the books, but I don't know, Kyle, how you felt about that, but for me, it probably could have been 10 episodes total, and I think that would have felt better, which is weird because it feels like then they're like cramming a lot into this next episode, where everything
Right.
has been kind of
Right.
really spaced out, and then everything's going to happen in this next one.
Well,
Yeah.
I think they could. I think they've done such a good job of keeping it so close to the book, and they've made book. Of course, they've missed things that people are upset about, like whatever. But they've done such a good job that like they've proved to the book fans that they are committed to this, to being a faithful adaptation. That I would love to see them have more freedom in that adaptation, because I think the best moments of the show have been where they took some freedom. So I would like to see that more, because I do think then maybe we would want 16 episodes, because we're like, this has been so much fuller of even this really great story. It's just not everything is going to translate to book to TV.
Yeah.
You have to take some leniencies, and they have. I just think they can do it even more.
I agree with you. I think they need to use the red editing pen on this next season. I think 10 episodes will force them to do that. I would love for them to cut out the fat and get to the good shit and add a little more on the side.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the more that we can see things that happen outside of Claire's point of view now. I think that really helps, because a lot of the book is Jamie goes off and does something and then comes back and tells Claire all about it. Like, I really like the fact that we can get to see it totally from Jamie's point of view, and Claire doesn't have to be there. I think exactly what you said, Becca, is some of the best moments of Outlander were when they went off book. The whole wedding sequence, that was totally from Jamie's POV. I loved that. Like, I think more of that. Even the whole Duke of Sandringham bit was awesome. Like, that kind of stuff is really cool.
Yeah, but do you think that we're just interested in that because it's not what we're expecting, or not, and we don't know what's going to happen, and so it feels new to us, and because it feels new and fresh, that's why it's more interesting.
So would you want them to go a Game of Thrones route, where essentially almost every plotline kind of turns into a completely different arc than the books?
No. I think I like the part where they have a little bit of license to explore the stuff that is probably there. We just don't get to see it or hear about it.
Right.
I don't think they need to, reinvent the wheel, but exploring something from Jamie's point of view, or meeting all these other characters and learning a little bit more there, is way more interesting than being so on the nose.
Right. Plus, I think also now that Jamie knows who Claire is, there is less need for a voiceover. Like, they're kind of on the same place now, so I feel like, or I'm hoping that the voiceover isn't as necessary, because you don't have to, like, Claire's not doing 10 steps in her head to figure out what she's doing. He knows who she is. They're all going to be on the same page. So
can I just say that, like, I haven't been here for the rest of Hang Outlander, but like when that whole, oh my god, that entire plot line where she told him what was going on, and then that she found out that her like best friend was like from I was like, what, 1960? Like, what? I know I'm like so behind in like discussing all of this, but I was like blown away. I loved it all.
Well,
that's the good shit.
Right. There's a couple things I want to read here from Twitter. There was somebody, I think, answering your question, Kyle. Megan Goes Wine. Oh, I like your name. I don't know if that's your last name, but it has wine in it. She said, yes, they underdeveloped the relationship and missed key moments in the pacing, too. So I think for her, there was just definitely some underdevelopment there. Just another opinion. This was interesting. BK Wheat said she thinks that they'll open the next episode already somewhere different than they are now, and they're going to flash back to what we haven't seen. So it could be interesting. I don't. Yeah.
Cows.
And then we've had a couple of these. Tama said, "Oh, that's normal. How could you not talk about how amazing Sam was? That trembling when he realized what he was in for, sob." And I think we haven't really talked enough about how well he did. First of all, he looked probably the best he's looked in a long time.
Yes.
The hair.
I was like, yeah, his hair looked good. He just this was a very great episode for
I'm
Sam.
so glad I'm not the only one who noticed that.
Here's a question. Beth could answer this. Beth, is it just me, or did they smash the wrong hand?
They did, and that's because they decided that because Sam is right-handed, they weren't going to force him to be left-hand show.
Okay.
So they decided to smash his non-dominant hand.
Okay.
But also, yeah, he looks amazing in this episode, and that's because he looks better when he's dirty.
He does.
That's just physics, you guys. That's physics.
Yeah. I loved with Sam that when he was when he's face to face with Tobias, there was that kind of cool, you're not going to get to me, USOB kind of, and when he would turn, like some of the facade was falling away. That's what I really liked, that you could see Blackjack was getting to him, but damned if he was going to let him know that he was, I mean, he wasn't fully getting to him, but there were pieces where he was chinking away.
Yeah. I think Sam was amazing in this episode simply because physically, other than like when he actually is battling a lot, like in this episode, and which is something we don't see. And this goes back to the question we just said, which is what we're missing. What I've been missing this whole season is the reason I love Outlander in the first place, which is Jamie fucking Fraser, who is amazing on a million different levels, and who we've only seen basically be the horny puppy and be a little bit of like a weird, like, have this egotistical kind of thing that he has going on, like when he was being the Laird, and it was just kind of weird. Like, I missed the Jamie that I really super loved. And so I think a lot of book readers have been like, the relationship has been underdeveloped, and because of that, Jamie has been underdeveloped. That's been the biggest problem I've had with this season. And this episode brought him back, I mean, 100-fold. From the very first scene, he was Jamie Fraser, and he was amazing, and he was just present, and that's 100% due to Sam and, of course, the writing, because they allowed him to have great scenes that showed who Jamie really is. Yeah. But I thought Sam was fantastic because he had to show so much with his eyes. I mean, literally his hand and his feet were chained down, and he had to express this amazing amount of physicality with just his face. And he did, and it was beautiful. And I was really, really, really fantastically wrapped in what Sam was.
It's one of the. I want to point out one. No, go ahead. No, I just want to say real quick. I got really excited in the beginning credits when I saw that this episode was directed by a woman. I thought that was a very interesting choice for such a heavily male.
Yeah.
I love that.
I noticed that too. I really thought Sam acted his kilt off in this. I think the reason I don't want to talk about it is I don't want to remember those moments. We got there, it happened, it was awful, I want to move on. Yeah. But gosh, he just looked broken in some points, and just like the curled up on the ground when Claire finds him and is looking in on him hurt so bad. Like I had to bring the blanket up again. But hats off to you, Sam.
Yeah. I love so much that they had so much of it, as we said, it was unspoken, and that's just amazing that he was able to convey so much with less lines. But there were also lines that had meanings other than what it was. Like the point when he says, "I love you" to Claire, that's "I love you," but that's also goodbye. Yeah. I mean, in his mind at that point, that is 100% goodbye. I'm never going to see you again. I'm going to die. And I just thought that was so powerful in the way that he delivered that. That was amazing.
So I know, real quick, I know we're kind of running over, but in the, I don't think this is spoiling anything, but in the books, I think it's in the first book where Claire explains like how her Frank is somehow related to Jack Randall. So, I mean, obviously they're the same actor, so it's not like I'm giving this anything away. But I don't think
oh my God!
Like, spoiler! I don't think it's like she doesn't explain that to Jamie, or at least we haven't seen that. And like I'm starting to hate Claire already because of like her eventually not wanting something to happen. I don't want to give it away for spoilers, but she hasn't explained that, right?
I want to say in that big montage they did, maybe I'm wrong. You know, like when she like that whole bit where you get the idea that she's like, and then I talked to him, and like she did those little drop-in things, like when she revealed, I thought there was something in there, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Well, just if Claire actually explained to Jamie the relationship like between her Frank and Blackjack.
Oh, I don't know.
The relation?
I don't know.
She hasn't done that in the show yet.
Okay.
No.
I was like,
I don't remember her going into that necessarily, but I might be wrong. I'm sure somebody on Twitter will tell us.
Oh yeah.
Someone on Twitter, speaking of Twitter, said back to my, I don't know, I can't talk. They said, thank God they left out the wolf. What is the wolf?
Oh.
Yeah, we can tell them, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just curious at this point.
When Claire gets knocked into the place where all the men are dead,
Yeah.
like he throws her down the trap door. In the book, there is a mangy wolf that she has to fight with like the bone of a dead man.
What?
And she has to fight this wolf off in order to get out of that like pit area, or it's really like an alley or something in the book.
Yeah.
And so that's like a big thing. So she's
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
But
heard
they
the wolves
didn't,
howling, but that was
They
it.
didn't do it, but they paid homage to it in the show with like you could hear her when she's going through there's all these wolves howling when she's calling for Myrta and Angus. And so you hear the wolves, but they didn't do that scene, which to me that scene is super duper overkill, so I was fine with them like cutting it out, but like that's what the wolf is. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was the Tobias tribe Twitter that put this out today, but I could be wrong, and I totally like laughed out loud, major spit take, and they did this thing like, thank God there were no wolves, and they showed one of the CGI wolves from New Moon in like really bad mid leap. It is.
Okay.
I'll have to find it again and retweet it. I was like, I snorted
I
diagram
saw that.
out my nose. It was so bad. I was like,
That made no sense to me when you posted that. I was like, what is going on? Like,
Oh, so I did retweet it. Okay, because it was
Twilight?
like,
I don't understand. And then now, okay.
I'm drunk enough to say that that's the only thing Tribe Tobias has ever done that I found funny.
Okay,
I saw that. I think it's Tobias's tribe that tweeted it. I'm not positive, but it was.
All opinions are our own. I stand for the opinions.
I'm like looking at my Twitter.
Oh my god.
I'm looking at my
I have
Twitter
a question
stream
for
now to
you,
get it
though.
right.
What
Can I
is it?
just tell you?
Okay. Okay. This is it wrong that I'm slightly attracted to Blackjack Randall?
No.
With his,
No.
especially with his like treatment of Jamie. I don't know why, but like I was just like, huh.
I think it's
I
like
can get down with this. Like,
it's like a mind
fandom.
like
It's a mind fuck because Tobias is hot and Frank is hot, and then you're like, oh damn, that
His
guy's a
treatment-
crazy guy though.
his treatment of Jamie, like it was wrong, and it turned me on, and I'm sad. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it at all. I feel so bad.
I think you're coming at this from a different perspective than all of us are, obviously, for many reasons, but one of them being you haven't read the book, so I think you can come up with it as you may. We all have our thing.
I also might have some book recommendations for you, Kyle.
Real bad. I just okay. And I don't know if you guys. I don't know if it's too late to talk about this, and I don't know if you've talked about it already. Just I am shocked at this point with how bad Blackjack Randall has been. I don't think even if Claire went home at this point, I don't think she'll ever be able to be with her husband again. And I think as a non-book reader, I don't see that happening. I don't see her being with her husband ever again, ever, like at all. Like I don't see that. Even if she somehow makes her way back home at some point in the series, I don't.
So is that still something you think could be a possibility?
I don't think so. I think it's both mentally and physically impossible for her to look at her husband and not think of the rape and the bullying and everything that Jack Randall has done.
It's interesting that you're even thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. As a book reader, I agree with you. So that means like in terms of like what does happen in the books, if Claire ever does that, like if that ever becomes something that happens, I agree with you that there would be a trauma there, like a triggering there so potent that she would not be able to look at Frank and be with him sexually. I agree 100%.
So why didn't Claire bring any weapons to the prison? Like, do you
I
get
don't know, that was
frisked when
dumb.
you go in?
They disarmed her. Did not Marley disarm her?
I thought so.
Yeah, Marley
Yeah,
found the
he disarmed
dagger in the sock. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, right. No, but she had a dagger in her stocking. They didn't.
Couldn't she have hidden it in her like vajayjay or something? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, generally,
I
like
want
to
to
keep
put
our
knives
knives.
decks, okay?
He went up there looking. He
Yeah.
went all the way up looking for.
Yeah, 'cause
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why I want to put something sharp and pointy. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sorry. I don't
Vagina
know what to say.
dentata. Vagina
Oh, yeah.
dentata.
I forgot about that, but she could have came in with multiple and then like handed something Jamie, and then he could have hidden it. And I'm just, I know it's by the book, whatever. So
Yeah, well, like the second time around, maybe. Oh, wait, that guy's still there. Maybe not.
You know, what bugs me is that she has all these keys, and yet she's trying to, like, break the lock on his ankle. And I'm like, they don't have individual keys for the ankle locks. They're all the same lock. I'm sure that one of those keys fits the fucking ankle lock. Just get it and get the
I know, like, why are you hammering that thing in? Come on.
Right.
Like,
You've
we're
got a
just,
whole set of keys, babe.
like-
Yeah, right? Oh, my God.
especially
kind of,
when
like-
doesn't Blackjack then go and like take the key and like undo his ankle?
Yeah.
Yes!
I was like,
Stupid women tricks. Yes. I could, speaking of stupid women tricks, Beth, I was reading your top 10, like, Outlander moments, and I got to the one about, Ellen Mackenzie and, like, jewelry collector of the 80s. I just like, yes, so that. Oh, my gosh.
No,
Jewelry collector and man collector.
Yes, I was like, my God, is there anyone in the Scottish Highlands who isn't giving this woman jewelry?
Right?
all
great
of these
to do.
book readers are like, no, you don't understand. Like, women in the Highlands, she was highly, like, desirable because of her land and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, that might be the case. But, like, 2 episodes in a row, we're getting, like, men talking about how much they loved Ellen Fraser. I'm like, is her pussy made of ice cream? I don't get who cares? How is she so fucking annoying?
If there was one made of ice cream, I would even go for it.
Oh, my
and on
God.
that note,
Not realistic.
Well, I think that's our note. We're going to wrap up.
Last thought, Kyle.
Say that.
Sorry.
Oh, my gosh.
No, that's wonderful. I think we've talked about everything. Let's just go ahead and say we'll meet same Scottish time, same Scottish place.
So we actually, our next Hangout Outlander will be in 2 weeks because
Oh.
of Memorial Day. Not because of us, not our decision. Outlander, that would be a decision from the executives at Stars. So the episode, there's not a new episode this week. It's 2 weeks from now, 2 Saturdays from now. So
That's so fucked up.
I know.
So,
It's
not
bullshit.
what I said.
No, yeah. So 2 weeks from now, same time. And Kyle, we've had so many people being like, "Where's this guy been all our lives? Please bring him back." So I'm so glad you were here to join
Right.
us
I'm
tonight.
so happy.
For those
I'm like-
those people, they can check out season 1, part 1 of season when Kyle was on Talking Outlander.
Yeah, at some point earlier.
Yeah. And follow him on Twitter and everywhere.
Yeah, we'll tweet out his name in a minute.
Yeah, and I really want to be here for next week or 2 weeks from now.
Next
Okay.
week will be
I will make sure my schedule is free for this.
awesome.
Pencil it in.
Beth is like, okay.
Well, we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Until then.
Godspeed. We love you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.